man, say man. It's Sister Jazz. And this is Charles.
Hey,
welcome to the next installment of the Hopefull Romantics podcast. This week, we are going to be talking about...
Whoa! You're just not going to go before the Lord in prayer?
I was going to say the topic and then pray.
Nah, you wasn't.
So this week, we are going to be talking about the talking phase. I'm going to pray. Well, actually, you're going to pray.
Nah, I want to see that. Go ahead.
You're about to pray.
Go ahead, baby.
Go ahead.
We coming to you right now, Lord. Asking you to cover this podcast. And nope, don't hell us, heaven us. And help us to go before the folk who are listening and help us talk about this thing called the talking phase, Lord. It's something that we created. I don't think it's something that you sent down here. But Father God, help us maneuver it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Stay hopeful.
Stay hopeful.
Stay hopeful.
Stay hopeful.
Hey man, say man, it's Brother Charles. I had to, young.
And I'm Jazz.
Sister Jazz.
And I'm Jasmine. I don't even say Jazz. And I'm Jasmine. Welcome again to the next episode of the Hopefull Romantics podcast.
Where we love life, we love, and we love the Lord. That's the wrong order.
We love life, we love the Lord, and we love love.
Because we love the Lord before we love love. Because he loved us. You feel me?
Yes.
Alright, obviously we having a hard time talking, but listen, a little bit. This week we talking about the wretched, the heinous.
Okay. All right.
The unnecessary. Did I say dreaded? I didn't. The dreaded talking phase.
So we took a poll this week and we asked you guys if you guys wanted us to talk about the talking phase or our individual relationship fears. And overwhelmingly, y'all wanted us to talk about the talking phase. So, we were Charles was trying to explain the talking phase to his mom earlier.
Was so funny, bro.
And it was actually pretty difficult to decipher between talking, dating, and courting. And I think because honestly, it's all subjective, really, depending on what you define these three distinct phases to be. So how would you describe... We'll go from courting to talking. So what is courting to you?
Hold on, before we start, I gotta tell the story of how my mom, it was from the old school. We gonna put an age out there, but she from the old school. So I was like, Mom, cause like, nowadays folk be talking, but y'all didn't do that back in the day. And she was like, we used to talk to each other.
She said, we used to talk.
We used to talk.
We didn't talk.
We didn't talk. And like, completely went over her head.
Because it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't.
It was a part, I think it was a part of, like a very initial part of dating, but it wasn't as significant as it is
You
now.
either was quote unquote going steady or you wasn't. So courting, and this is that folk who grew up in the church know what this is all about. Courting, right? It to me is dating with the purpose, right?
Okay,
dating with the purpose for marriage. So for instance, right? Once me and Jasmine knew that this was it, hang it up, throw in the towel for everybody else, that's really where we started courting.
Yeah.
Now, courting involves dating, as in going out on dates, getting to know one another, levels of chivalry, all that good stuff, meeting each other's folks. But the end goal is for us to end up together for life, right? Yeah. Not no life partnership, marriage.
Yeah.
Because we don't even want to get into entanglements and all that. But courting is truly dating with purpose.
Yeah.
Dating is somebody or people when folk are just trying to be out here, have a level of companionship, have a good time, feel out the funk, see what they like versus what they don't like, and just have a good time. And I think for whatever reason, like, that can sometimes be condemned in certain parts of society, where it's like, especially for women, where it's like, yo, I'm really just trying to be out
dating
here.
around, or like serial dating.
Serial dating
is, and I think that's an easy way to differentiate between dating and courting, because you can date around, like you can be dating several people or going on dates with several different people, but I've never heard of people courting more than one person.
That don't make
like,
no sense unless polygamy is your thing.
Right, but like, courting to me is, we've had a conversation about where this is going and it's long term. Dating, you may not have had that conversation yet, or maybe you're not even in the place where that conversation is necessary. You're just dating to interact with other people. You're dating for the enjoyment of dating and what that adds to your life. And then talking is, talking to me has always been connected to sex. So really,
honestly, like to me, because I always heard people say we're just talking when someone wanted to be more than just friends with benefits.
I think yes, and also just when one person wanted to be more than friends, period, but the other person didn't, so they're kind of stuck in this talking phase where you don't have a title, you haven't defined it, but you're consistently investing time. That's how I see it. You're investing time in someone that really hasn't articulated
anything.
Yeah.
To me,
a goal, an expectation.
To me, talking has just always been a little quick cop out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, exclusivity. Talking.
That was the next point. Yeah.
Commitment. We just talking.
Yeah.
Whoa. You actually want me to like you for real?
Every day, all the time?
We just
You want to be the only one?
Wait. It's past. It's before 7:00 p.m. What you talking to me for?
Yikes.
We just talking.
Yikes.
No, honestly and truly, I feel like some people think that the talking phase is necessary before dating.
Yeah.
When in reality, you could just go ahead and just start dating. Because to me, also, I think the talking phase doesn't include dates.
Yeah, I actually, that's a pattern I definitely see. Talking is really like behind a screen, pull up Netflix and chill type level interaction.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not like I'm taking you to dinner or we're going to go do something. It really is like in the house, talking. In the dorm room, whoever apartment. Like, it's really...
Talking to me is like a what you doing type conversation through text. It's a it's not even a caking conversation over the phone. It's really like, what you want, I'm about to slide. Right? Netflix and chill when I do pull up.
Yeah. And
then we do that until one person or both parties be like, all right, I got what I needed.
That's, yes.
You ain't go out. You might have door dashed once or twice. But you never walk down the street with shorty or homie.
Yeah.
Open the door, let her walk in, order from the menu. I mean, granted, Rona gonna mess that up. But before, pre-Rona, it's like literally being intentional about sliding out somewhere and really spending quality time without even the notion of that transactionary type relationship where it's like tit for tat. We want to do this just to do that.
I agree. I think, honestly, I think the talking phase was kind of birthed from a generation not willing to commit, not wanting to commit, having a lot of trust issues. I remember I had a conversation with my mom a couple years ago, and we were just talking about marriage, but not like me personally, just like marriage in general. And I said, I think my generation is going to be very different because a lot of us are products of divorce. And my mom was so upset. She was like, no, you're not the only generation that's dealt with that. But what I was saying was, I feel like our generation, which is honestly, it's starting to become very true, that a lot of us are waiting later to get married. Or choosing not to get married at all. A lot of us are not believing in marriage anymore. Or we're okay with the commitments, but not the... you're okay with a commitment, but not the commitment in terms of getting married. And when you're so far removed,
what does that mean? What does that mean? You're comfortable with a commitment, but not the commitment. What that mean?
So a commitment. We all know a couple that's been together for years who don't have a goal of getting married. So they're okay with a level of commitment with saying, I'm here for you, like I am with you, but not necessarily a commitment that's saying I want to be with you forever, like until the end of the end of our life. Like I'm saying I want to be here.
So like it's the commitment up until the notion of forever.
Exactly. And I think when you play that, when you play that back, or you go a couple steps before that, you can rationalize this phase where you're not committing to anything. The talking phase, honestly, commitment?
It's a clean break.
And I feel like when you get your feelings hurt, honestly, when you try to force a commitment in the talking phase, or to someone who's really comfortable with the talking phase. Mm-hmm. I think for us, I think we did it. I think on my end, which is another thing, I think on my end there was a talking phase. Because there was a point where in the very beginning, I was talking to several people and none of them were serious. Like I did not intend on dating any of these people. They were just in my phone. He didn't even know, but they were in my phone. They were, entertaining. Like we were.
I'm gonna be honest.
It was reciprocal.
It was the same situation on this side, but at the same time, though, right? That's not important information. But at the same time, though.
Oh, you were telling me that, but okay.
Yes, come on, Jan.
Oh yeah, you did.
Like, what level of transparency was out here? But I think that, not to cut you off, but I think that the talking phase really is just like, it's a free for all.
It is.
Because hop on the socials right now, and that's what I think one of the biggest aspects of the talking phase is people be getting their playbook from what people say on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. It's like, oh, this is the standard now. Like, yo, I've always liked the act of dating.
Yeah.
Because there was an intentionality behind it.
That's true.
And for me, dating was dope because it really was saying, like, yo, I think you're dope.
And I want to get to know you.
I want to get to know you, and I want to have a good time while doing so. You watch Moesha back on Netflix, you watch that jump, folk, you ask somebody out.
Yeah.
Right? And you would go, there would be a myriad of things to do.
Yeah. It's
like, yo, I think this person is cute. I think this person is cool. Like, let me go do something that's going to let them know that I'm interested in them. Right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, a lot of times it was more motive just behind than just getting to know them. Like, someone might be trying to lay down or whatever. But at the same time, I know for me, like, our first week, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to truly see Jasmine for who she was if it wasn't for a slew of dates. Next week will be our anniversary of our first week of dating.
Face to face.
August 10th through the 14th, 2017. One of the best weeks of my life. Because I literally went on a date with Jasmine for 5 days straight.
Every single day. And we did, I think the very first date we were in the house, but we ended up leaving the house that same day.
I'll tell you, that was a grandiose.
Yeah, it was. Like, we started in the house, we had a picnic, and then we went out to a park, got some ice cream.
No, baby,
I'm sorry, that was a different day. But what I'm saying is that every day of that week we did something. It was never pull up, we know what this is, we know what we about to do, let me just go ahead and get this itch, and then, you know what I mean?
Stand.
It was never that. And I feel like the talking phase, one, I feel like people think it's necessary, and two, I think it's filled with people satisfying their own desires without feeling obligated to protecting the other person's feelings.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think in this day and age, based off of how the generation is moving, that folks should still stick with the talking phase, or should we try to just do away with that and just go back to dating and courting?
I think in general, I can't say don't do the talking phase, do whatever. I think people need to be more open with what they are doing and why they are doing it.
That's the biggest issue.
Whether you call it talking, dating, courting, people need to become more comfortable with being able to articulate what they're there to do. Like, if you're there to just hit it and bounce, there are plenty of people that are okay with that.
Hit it and bounce.
What is it? Toot it and boot it?
It's hit it and quit it.
No, it's toot it and boot it.
Okay, YG. But
either way, like, what I'm saying is, we're old enough at this age
at this point
to know what
bro.
we're doing and why we're doing it. If you are not in the position to be courting someone, stop engaging with people who are saying they want to court. If you're not trying to date them, stop engaging with them if you're not trying to date. If you are just solely wanting to be in a talking phase where I can hit you up, you can hit me up, we know what we about to do, listen, that's your life, that's your choice. But I wish people would be more open with that being their motive. And I think a lot of people are frustrated with dating, frustrated with the talking phase and then dating and the transition between the two, because people aren't able to articulate what they want and what they want from the other person.
So, and here's the thing, right? What frustrates me is I always go back to this context, nuance, and tact. People be like, just be honest, just be honest. And then someone will come in the jump and just be completely abrasive and obnoxious and rude, where it's like, yeah, I don't really even bang with you like that. I'm just trying, yeah. And then be mad if the person on the other end is like, I'm completely cool off you.
Yeah.
Because you're a terrible person, right? Like, you have to maneuver situations in ways that showcase that you know how to deal with other human beings.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest issues, and I'll see sisters like post screenshots of the stuff that brothers be saying, and then brothers really be like baffled at the fact that like they wasn't rocking with what they were saying. I'm like, yo,
you don't even know how to talk to people.
You don't even know how to talk to people, and that's really the first. Yeah. And like, I think that there is some validity in the talking phase where it's like, before I even say like, let's go get some ice cream, like, let me really try to dissect if this is even a person I want to spend 45 minutes with outside of my house.
That's true.
So I understand that part, right? But I think you bring up a good point where it's like, yo, don't beat around the bush, yo. Yeah. Like, I think the talking, folk always talk about another failed talking phase, back to the streets I go. And I think that a lot of people feel that way because they'll get to a certain point and like, oh, you're lying. They'll try it again. Oh, you're lying. Yeah. Try it again. Oh, you're lying. And I think at a certain point, folk are like 23 giving up on love and the pursuit of love. And that's one of the biggest things that we don't want to happen. I think that was one of the notions behind us starting this jump was we were seeing a whole bunch of people who were just washing their hands of
and
love.
Jaded and
I'm like, yo, you're in your early 20s.
Why are we jaded? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like getting your heart broken, dealing with people, like putting yourself out there, having your time wasted is extremely painful. Oh yeah. So I'm not saying, or we're not saying that we look out on our timeline and we're like, why are people you're hurt? Like, calm down. No, what I'm saying is people who are choosing to court, date, talk, whatever, need to be better at what they're doing because you're dealing with someone's life. You're dealing with their feelings, you know? And when we get to a place where we invest more time in emotional intelligence and we invest more time in, you know, just dealing with people on a kinder level, I think less people would be hurt if people were to come out in a kind way and say, you know, like, I'm not trying to date right now. You know, like, my goal isn't marriage right now. Like, that's not where I am. And people will be able to receive that when they're talked to in a way that sees them, that still values them, that still values their feelings. Like, that's where we're trying to transition us to.
I don't think people really recognize that. Like, and every phase, like talking, dating, courting, the biggest thing is really taking the other person into account, right? Yeah. We said, what did we say? When do like acts of kindness in a relationship become self-neglect?
Oh, yes.
Something, right? Mm-hmm. Accommodations and stuff like that, right? And on the flip side of that, I think it's necessary to go into those type of... People kind of automatically think if I do things for somebody else, that I'm going to be taken advantage of. Yeah. So I'm going to go into the situation with my guard up. Yeah. And then they get surprised when things don't work out. It's because you're not giving anything. Yeah. And I know a lot of folk have been through things where giving access to somebody has always led to being let down and stuff like that. And that history can literally repeat itself. So I truly understand that people will go into these relationships, these situationships on eggshells because they're only anticipating getting hurt.
Yeah.
But I think that when folk recognize or begin to recognize that every time you do this, there is kind of an expectation that there is a level of vulnerability attached to
for
it.
Sure.
At every level. Like if even if I'm just talking to you through Twitter DM, right? And I'm just getting to know you, I might ask you a couple questions just to have some idea of who you are outside of the timeline, right? You have a choice whether or not you're gonna, divulge that information?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I should know that word.
I feel like it's correct.
I'm a college graduate. But you have the choice whether or not you're going to divulge that information. Yeah. I just went ahead and said it. But throughout every phase, because I know when we started talking, Jasmine kind of just like out the gate was just throwing stuff at me about who she was. And I really think that...
I don't remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's very important. It's very important information about who she was. So she's looking at me like, okay.
But I do that.
And I think, and you know what I appreciate that though. It's like when you do that, it's really on some take me or leave me.
Yeah, it is. And that's really
like,
why
let's not play no games. Like either you with it or you ain't.
Yeah.
And I was with it, and you see where we at right now. And I appreciated that simply because that was something that I was struggling to do with myself. I was like, it made me look internally like, am I ready to say all of this information about myself?
Yeah.
And then when I recognized that I was, a light bulb went off and I was like, oh, this is somebody who I automatically felt comfortable with.
Yeah, that was huge.
And when I realized that really boosted like my energy towards this whole thing. Cause I was like, I've been kind of searching for that level of comfortability. Mm-hmm. I've been searching for an environment and an atmosphere where I felt comfortable, not only being myself, but talking about myself, talking about my true inner self and all those things. Yeah. And I know folk might be in a talking phase right now where the other person may want a little bit more out of them and they're holding on to that piece maybe for later and I'm not saying, rush that.
Yeah.
Really, really do some soul searching to see. But if a person has shown you, right, that they're, trustworthy and stuff like that, and sometimes it takes longer for some people.
For sure.
But if someone has shown you that they're trustworthy, go ahead. Yeah.
I think you hit on a very good point where there's kind of two ways to go about talking and dating. You can be an open book when you first start talking to someone, or you can be closed off. Like both, I feel like in a way, in their own way, is a way. I'm trying to think of another word.
Both is a way.
Both of them are ways to weed out people.
Stand.
Because I am a sharer, and I do, which is really interesting, because if you know a little bit, if you've watched past episodes and you put a little pieces together of like who I am, it's quite interesting what I share. But I am a sharer, and a lot of times, or many times in my life, I've shared and the other person wasn't in the place where they could receive it, wasn't in the place where they could, really deal with what I shared with them, and they just faded away.
They showed themselves to be someone who wouldn't stick around. They had to remove themselves because they weren't the person for me. And I could have done it the other way. I could have been guarded, and it could have taken a lot longer for them to realize and for me to realize that it wasn't going to work. But up front, I was like, this is who I am. This is how I maneuver the world. This is something that's heavy on, my daily. And if you can't deal with this probably isn't going to work. And I definitely agree that when Charles and I started talking, because I was talking to several people, I don't think I did it as soon with him. But when I was able, or when I was comfortable with sharing these things, one, it was very comfortable in terms of how he was responding to me. It wasn't like awkward silence, and it's like, but it's okay, you don't have to say anything. You know what I mean? I'm trying to comfort the other person when I just literally came out with so open with you. Man. But that wasn't how it was at all. Like, he received it well. We were able to talk about it. Like, he wasn't pushy. He wasn't asking questions. It was just, I'm here for whatever you want to share with me.
you know, and like, I'm a safe place for you to do that, you know. But on the flip side, you can be closed off. You know, you can wait to share that with someone until they've proven to you that they're worthy of access to you, you know. So I think it's a hard part of talking, because I think that's the transition from talking to dating, you know, is that the level of access in terms of an emotional sense, you know, because some people, like you said, talking, you have access, but it's more of a physical access, you know, and some people can be frustrated because it's just a physical access,
Stamp.
you know, and we have been brought to believe that that's what the talking phase consists of, you know, low commitment, high access, you know, and that transition to dating could really be you sharing, or you lowering that barrier, or you having that conversation about, you know, I want more from this relationship. So one question I don't know if we completely answered was, talking phase does not mean exclusive. That's what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Let's
I rarely
keep it
ever
sad,
do I
yo.
hear
But
stories.
no. I'm not gonna say that though, because here's the thing, and this is where people get caught up.
Exclusive talking?
This is where people get caught up.
That's
where people get caught up. Cause I'll be on that jump and folk be like, I be loyal from. See, I can't just talk to anybody because I'm loyal from the talking phase. So that's when people started saying, and people started saying it as a flex, and basically to put it out there like, please, someone come get me. I'm not. It's just gonna be me and you. Aww. People literally was putting themselves out there saying from the rooter, like, I'm not talking to nobody.
Oh, wow.
So come get me, because I won't talk to anybody else from jump. Yeah. Even as you're perusing, I'll just be over here like,
that's where communication
hello, yes, this is me. I am solely for you forever from jump. So that's people kind of putting their loyalty on display.
Yeah.
But I think where people get caught up, especially those type people, it's like, I'm loyal during the talking phase. Why aren't you?
Why aren't you?
When the expectation, I think, and this goes back to saying, listen, this is what we do. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yes.
If you're honest with that from jump, you can't get mad at that person who's perusing during the talking phase, because the whole purpose of the talking phase is to really figure out, all right, what am I doing before I press go on this whole dating and courting thing? Yeah. So do yourself a favor if you're in the position where you're in the talking phase. Really, just get on the same page. Like, look, I'm talking to more people than you. You don't gotta put the number out there, because some people might get hurt by more than a number that's bigger than 2. Yeah. Right? I'm talking to people other than you. How about that? Not just more. Other than you, right? So once that's out there, and, you know, if y'all are out and they phone buzz, you're not over here like, you're not over here asking if that's their cousin. And it's like, yo, no.
Come on, let's not ask. Let's not ask, because they've already articulated what this was and what it's about to be. One thing that, you know how Twitter says, like, normalize this, normalize that.
Twitter be saying normalize the literally worst anything. Stuff.
But what I really want people to normalize is, or like, take back. We've come to a point where people make jokes about how typically they're joking about women asking, like, what are we? And it's like this, like, don't ever ask your partner. When she asks,
what are we?
You know, and it's like, but what are we? You know what I mean? People aren't going to be out here investing their time and their energy into something they don't know what it is. They don't know how to define it. They don't know how you feel about it. So it's having them second guess what they feel about it. Like, let's normalize asking, what are we? What is this? What are we doing? Because then everyone is on the same page. And then really I think that's the biggest part of this, is when you're on the same page, then you can protect your feelings however way you see fit. If that means you're leaving, cool. That means you can stick around and deal with whatever those expectations are, cool. Whatever that means for you, you're in the know.
So what do you say to the person who is against someone asking them, what are we? What do you say to the person? What do you say to the person who's like, we just going with the flow, like, we just talking?
That's what you should say. If someone asks you, I don't think you should be adverse to the question. That's what I'm saying. However you answer that question is your business. If you're honest.
Yeah, because
your
the
answer is your answer.
The answer is your answer, and you can't be upset at the answer. Do with the answer what you will.
Exactly.
But if the person doesn't answer at all,
but that's an answer. No answer is an answer. And if they say, I'm going with the flow, if you're going with the flow too, ride that wave. By all means necessary, ride the wave. But if you're not,
if you ask
let's back it up.
If you ask her what are we, you ain't riding nobody's wave.
No, that's not true.
You ain't going with the flow.
What I'm saying is I want people, regardless of what their answer is, to be okay asking that. Because I think it's also our responsibility as people engaging in dating and talking and courting to know what the other person's expectations are. So if you're a go with the flow type person, I still think it's necessary for you to be the one to ask. Because if they're not a go with the flow person, you could potentially be putting them in a position where they're going to be hurt later down the line. When you could have simply explained to them what your expectations were. And you, from right then, you could tell if it matches or it doesn't.
Do you think the talking phase lacks empathy? I'm very interested in this show because this is a new phenomenon, in my opinion. Our grandparents was literally just dating, getting married, popping babies out, and just not getting divorced. So honestly and truly,
never.
Like,
do I think
they
it
could have probably
empathy?
benefited from this.
It depends on what the talking phase looks like for you. My talking phase.
I'll give you that, yeah.
My talking phase consisted of this. There were a couple of different people that I was talking to via, they DM'd me, I DM'd them, whatever. I think one of them he got my number from one of my friends or whatever, and we started talking. Charles, it wasn't creepy at all. We went to school together. It was not creepy at all. He was not a random. But then there was Charles, who slid into my DMs. Then there was an ex who was also in the mix too. So all these people were in the talking phase at the same time. I didn't have a commitment with any of them. Like I hadn't necessarily said like what it was, what it wasn't though. But with Charles, when things became more serious, I let the other two know what it wasn't, you know? And so I don't think it lacked empathy in the sense that I wasn't leading anyone on to believe that we were going to date at the same time. So I feel like I empathize with what they could be going through by not doing that. Okay. So if I were to go into the talking phase and treat all of them the same way and lead them all to believe we're all going to date, I think that is a lack of empathy. Because 2 out of 3 of these people are about to be hurt. Unless you're all about to date each other, and that's just not likely.
So here's my follow-up, John.
You're asking all the Okay, go ahead.
Right, I'll answer this question too. So I said, does it lack empathy? Right? Do you think that there should be this like even keel standard of empathy across all relationship standards?
What do you mean?
Because here's my thing. I have a lot of friends who have been through a lot of talking phases, right? I have friends who have been the heartbreakers, friends who have been the heartbroken. Some of those people are the same people, right? And my thing was that always kind of baffles me is a lot of folk expect the same level of empathy from everybody. And I think that's where a lot of people get messed up.
Go ahead, bring that down.
I am an empath.
Yes, I am too.
To an extent.
Ooh. To a fault.
To a fault on this side. People ain't gonna listen.
Okay.
No, ma'am, no, sir.
No, ma'am, no ham. No, ma'am, no ham.
Right on. You did? Like what? What do you want me to say that? But to me, I've been in situations, talking phase, like all that, where my level of communication was similar to a previous situation where everything was all good. Okay. Here comes another situation, paying it all out. Hey, beloved, this is what it is. This is what it ain't. But then when it becomes what it ain't, right? And it's time for me to bid you adieu, I am everything but a child of God. right?
Because you lived up to what you.
Because I I did exactly what I told you I was gonna do.
Yeah. I don't.
But all I'm saying is, and this is where I look at the talking phase with the side eye, because I think what people get wrong is they go into the talking phase thinking that they can maneuver, their emotional intelligence will be received, their behavior more so. Their behavior will be received the same way as when they were in a different situation. So this is really just a caveat to folk who are maneuvering the talking phase. Regardless of the levels of communication, regardless of, like the what are we questions and stuff, how you move won't always be either appreciated or condemned. So just know that. So that way you're not sitting here like, am I a terrible person? Or could I have done more? Yeah. But at the same time, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I think it's necessary to really learn folk.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn somebody and you just move and shake the same way every single time, you are gonna hurt somebody. Yeah. Like, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And some people don't care about that. And that's the biggest thing too. You might deal with somebody who really just don't care.
Simply just.
And in this big old world, you're going to interact with people who simply do not care. It's them over everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And when you kind of see that in somebody, please be aware, because they really might take your heart, bow, and rock out.
Yeah. I don't know if saying it requires the same amount of empathy is the way I would put it, but I would say that what I want to challenge us to do is to have, for the bare minimum of whatever phase you're in, to be the conversation of what is this, what do we want from this? Okay. Because if you do that and you're honest with that person about what your expectations are and where you are personally in your relationship journey, you'll be able to leave the situation at least feeling like, well, I was honest with what I wanted, and then so if you do leave the situation and you ask like, well, was I supposed to? You had a conversation, an adult, mature, open conversation about what you wanted this to be. If that other person, and I think a lot of times, we talked about potential a little bit last week, the other person, you may see a lot of potential in that other person, and you may not want to walk away when they say, let's just go with the flow. When you have every intention of marrying this person, you have every intention of taking it as far as possible. And you've already painted them into your picture of the future with the white picket fence and the kids. And then when it goes left, you blow up and you're so upset. And that's when the other person's like, well, did I not explain this well enough? Like, am I a bad person because now you're hurt? But in reality, like, that conversation is not just to express your expectations, but it's really a check-in with yourself. Like, can I deal with what this person is expecting of me? If I cannot, you really
check
have
up the deuces. To go. Do yourself a favor.
Because if you stay, that's when those really big heartbreaks come. That's when it's like, forget love. I don't want to do this anymore. Never getting married. Never committing. That's when
I hate everybody.
That's when you become very jaded.
It's like, yo,
because
relax,
you either didn't have the conversation or you weren't honest with yourself about where you were and what you could deal with.
All right, next question. You ready?
Yes. You still have with your hopefuls. Well, go ahead.
How long should the talking phase be?
My God.
Let's give everybody the blueprint.
Oh my God.
Let's give everybody the blueprint. Okay. All right, let's do 2 scenarios. Okay. Let's do 3.
You got 3 off the top?
I got 3 off the top.
Okay, off the dome.
You live in the same area.
Okay.
That's the first scenario. How long should it be?
Are you saying that because like people move in with each other?
No. I'm talking from a place of like close distance to long distance relationship.
How long should the talking phase be?
And why?
But
no, come on. How long does it take to get to know somebody to the point where it's like, I should date you? Come on. Put a figure out there. Y'all,
close proximity.
Y'all don't have to listen to this part for real.
A month to 2 months.
Whoa.
You think it's long?
I think a month tops.
I say 2 because you don't know.
If
how
you
busy
consistent,
they are.
no. Here's another. Ooh, we gonna go into a little cul-de-sac right quick, but
A cul-de-sac?
a little cul-de-sac. We're gonna take a pit stop. You feel me? A month if y'all consistently are like conversing, because the biggest thing that people talk about is the fact that folks like.
Oh, you've been talking for 6 months, but really, you don't even talk every day.
No, that's what I'm saying. A lot of what people will complain about and talk to us about is the fact that folk won't be texting them back.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it's hard
That's a
for
big
them
one.
literally to just physically talk to them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying if for 30 days y'all really is on some like every day some type of form of communication, it don't take but a month to, in my opinion, right? 2 months, y'all must talk weekly.
This is a side note, but it's on topic, I promise. I was in church in college and they were doing a whole series on dating. And the pastor said, if you're seriously dating someone by, I think he said 9 months to a year, you should be ready to get married. You should know, no. Not like getting married isn't like the weddings in a couple months, but like within 9 months to a year, you should be able to say, I can marry this person or not. Like you would know the answer to that question.
I can
like,
or I will.
Like, yes. Like this is someone
You just say yes to an option.
So you should be able to answer like,
Would you?
Is this the
Could
person?
you?
Is this the person I'm supposed to marry?
Oh,
You should
that's
be able
two
to answer
completely
that.
different things. Versus like, could I marry this person? Because you
Yeah,
know
that's true.
that
That's
you
true.
know
You
that
could.
like sooner than 9
Yeah,
months.
that's very true. But like, if it's a year where you know definitively, like this is my person.
And this was the teen ministry or young adult? Because that's
adult.
a lot. Okay.
Young adult, yeah. Young
So
adult.
what's that? 21 and up?
Like college age, so I would say
Okay,
like 18
19.
to 18.
I
don't think it takes long.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it takes long.
I know people are scared of that.
And I'm not saying, whoa, I'm not saying you were ready to get married at the end of that year.
But
'Cause
you have
I
an
knew-
idea.
I knew Charles was
I knew that like a month
right.
in.
Like okay, you always the.
Why would it like
It's just
A month
sometimes
in, I was
your
like-
timeline just be a little.
a month in? I was like, thanks Jesus,
Okay, well.
got her.
I knew early on that Charles was the one I was going to marry, but that does not mean when I realized that I was ready to get married. That's two
Okay,
different things.
respect.
But I just said that to say, like, if you should know if this is your person in a year, that, like, your talking phase isn't really going to be that long because you still need a date, you still need a court, and it's a process, you know? But and I think that's a very real timeline if you're in close proximity. Like,
Wow.
you're seeing each other all the time. We were long distance for 2 years.
A fairly long time.
Right? 2 out of the 3. We were long distance, you know? So,
In total, though,
2 out of the 3. My senior year.
I'm just trying to think of
Your
like
senior
an
year.
actual timeline. We was like long distance for a year and a half.
Yeah, school year. I always think of it in
You know,
school years.
like
but
actual year and a half. So literally half our relationship.
yeah, we were long distance. So I feel like
Ew.
when you're long distance, which I think is your next scenario, your talking phase may be a little longer just because you don't see each other as often. And some people, if you're a physical touch person or you're someone that your love language is closely tied to physicality
And
which is physical
proximity.
touch, and proximity, that's what I meant, not physicality. Proximity, then long distance relationship, your talking phase may be a little bit longer. I don't know what your third scenario was.
The third scenario was.
You forgot it.
I think.
I don't know
I mean, the
how you
only
came up
one.
with 3 that fast.
The only one. I mean, the main ones is like close
Yeah,
and
long
versus long distance. But yeah.
But let me tell you, we all know someone that's been in the talking phase or someone who just stays wherever, even if the person's different, they never really progress to the dating or the courting. It's just, I'm always just talking, you know? And, you know, emotionally, maybe that's just where you are. Maybe that's all you can give to another person right now. Fine. Going back to the previous points made, as long as you can articulate that with these people, kudos to you.
Because when you don't, you end up. Oh, Jesus. You end up stomach growling and stuff like, what's going on? When you don't communicate, you end up doing things to me, I don't want to say skipping steps, but you end up in positions where it's like, wait. But I thought we were.
Yeah, we were just.
I thought we was. Or like,
no, I'm in love.
No, you get to that point, it's like, no, bro.
What are you talking about?
Talking,
I
like,
invested all this time in you.
Talking, you met my mom, like all of that, right?
Like what?
You
came over to the house. What's the big deal?
You met my sisters, like, what you want?
Yeah, I know. And that you can protect yourself in so many ways if you're able. If you know this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing. Well, what are you about to do?
And what it is, and what it is.
I agree.
So yeah, listen. If you talking, keep talking. If you dating, keep dating.
Yeah, I mean, you're good.
And if you courting, more power to you. God bless your union of the future and the covenant of today.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
All right, so it's time for Dear Hopefuls.
We need a little jingle for Dear Hopefuls.
Dear Hopefuls. Just like that.
Alrighty.
Too good. Too good.
Dear Hopefuls, how important is Christ in the center of a relationship?
I'm going to put in some organs right there.
Are you? I'll try to find the organs right there. How important is Christ in the center of your relationship?
Are they just asking for ours? Or in general?
Well, they said a relationship.
Oh. Well, we got to speak in our context.
Yeah.
There's some saints and there's some ain'ts. Everybody doesn't love Jesus.
But I mean, the person asking this question, I'm assuming, is a saint. Because, like, that seems like an important part of a relationship for you to ask. For us, it is vital. Don't know if we'd be together still if we depended on each other.
Seriously. Yeah, absolutely.
No, we could, like, Christ, our relationship with the Lord had to be the center because we, as two individuals having dealt with 20 plus years of life and the experiences and the lessons and the hardships and everything that came with that, if it was just up to us to keep this together, it wouldn't work because we needed a example of what a true loving relationship looked like. Not coming from people. So, I mean, you could look at, because many times we use the relationships around us as an example. Our parents, typically, or whatever older relationship you watched growing up or didn't watch growing up, you know? But for me, that wasn't enough. Because if you see a broken relationship and you're trying to build a healthy relationship, you may not, there are pieces missing, you know? So when we got together, we were in a position where our relationship with Christ had developed to the point where it was important. It was a priority. So we knew that when things got hard between us, we could pray. One, we could pray about it. There was a book, literally a book that we could go to that had answers to a variety of issues.
That's the Bible.
There was, yes. There was a place we could go within ourselves that we could seek answers, healing, you know, things that we could work on. And it wasn't just on Charles to fix it. It wasn't on Charles to understand it. It wasn't on Charles to like be more than he could be. Does that make sense?
It wasn't on Jasmine to fix it. It wasn't on Jasmine to maneuver it. It wasn't on Jasmine to be whoever she needs to be.
Yes.
Christ is, if you know me, if you know Jazzo, we love Jesus. It ain't a secret.
That's
you
true.
Feel me? Like we say we love the Lord and we truly love the Lord. And we're unabashed in that fact. And we've both been through things that have rocked our faith. Oof. We've both been through things that have made us revitalize our faith, renew our faith. And what's wild is our origin of our relationship came at almost a simultaneous time that we were rededicating our lives back to God.
For sure.
And that has really sustained us through our entire relationship. When we've both been down bad mentally, when our families is wilding, where school was beating us up and down the street, where, you know, now more recently post-grad has been the utter haze. I wouldn't recommend adulthood. It's a 0 out of 10. No stars, 0% rating. But my God, honestly and truly, has kept us during moments and times and conversations that were hard, and silent treatments were being placed on one another. Ain't no exchange with the silent treatment. It's just nothing, right? Where there's moments in our relationship where it's like, ooh, we feeling all the feelings right now.
Yeah.
So what do we do when our back's against the wall? Yeah. Like the song says, we just turn to the Lord, and we really lean on Him, and then He pushes us back into one another. Yes. And then that's really the end result, and how we get here, and how we're able to always find common ground, how we're always able to be vulnerable enough with each other to say sorry and truly mean it, how we're vulnerable enough to express to one another the hard things that we know might hurt each other's feelings, and how we're able to put ourselves in a position where it's like we need to be better for each other, but we're not the ones that plant that seed. The moments in time where I look Jasmine in the face and I'm like, babe, I'm trying to work on this, and this. That's not me just being like, I need self-improvement. Yeah. That's the Lord saying, I'm going to work on this young man to be all that he can be, because he's a part of her. He's a part of the plan I have for her. Yeah. I'm going to work on this young woman so she can be everything she can be for him, because she's a part of my plan for him. And when we do that together, it's orchestrated by Christ. Yeah. And we recognize that, we bask in that, we give God praise for that, because we are going to be better every single day as a result of it. So if you haven't had Jesus, I suggest you try him, because he's going to take you to places that you can never truly imagine, that you can never anticipate. The best thing about a blessing is it's always better than you could have ever imagined. Honestly and truly.
You said that the Lord kept us, and I feel like he kept us, but he also kept us. Does that make sense?
Individually and as a couple.
Like, we are able to sit here and be, I would say, in a healthy, loving relationship.
Why you say that, yo? Like, I'm gonna disagree. Of course it's healthy.
The Lord has kept me for the last 3.5 years. The Lord has kept Charles in the last 3.5 years. And because of our individual relationships with Christ and us being together, we've lasted. I really don't, and I'm not saying we've gone through no, it's not about that, but it's about my relationship with Christ humbles me. Oh, because girl, when
you ain't saying nothing but a word.
Because when I don't feel like forgiving, no, seriously,
that's
when
real.
I don't feel like forgiving, quickly reminded that I was forgiven. Oh. When I don't feel like extending grace, I was quickly reminded that grace has been extended and continues to be extended to me.
Absolutely.
That, those are the things that keep you in a healthy relationship, because God loves us in the most perfect way. And when you have a relationship with God and you have that example in your life and you try to extend that in a parallel direction to another person, you have that example to lean on, to bounce back from, to correct you, to really adjust you into being the best person for the person you're trying to be with. So for us, it was everything. It is everything. And it will continue to be everything if we want to stay together.
It's the truest model.
Yeah.
I always say, I love Jasmine like Christ loved the church. That's how husbands are supposed to. It's Bible. That's how they say husbands are supposed to love their wives, right? Because Christ really married the church. He literally was that's why folk have to recognize that the church is the people, not the building. Mm. I'm just saying. No, honestly and truly, God loves us so much. Yeah. Truly unconditional. Human beings, we don't got unconditional love.
Oh my gosh.
Let's keep it a stack. That's a whole nother episode.
It's a goal that we have not been able to
that will
reach.
never reach. Everyone has that slew of things that if it was to happen, that love would be tainted, right? But all I can do is try my best to get as close to that as possible. And then everything else falls into place.
So hopefully that answered your question. Honestly, those questions tied to spirituality and religion. Well, Christianity, because I don't know a lot about all religions, but spirituality, really.
Spirituality.
I love answering those questions because, like, who would I be? You know what I mean?
Nobody.
Ooh, wow.
Downtrodden.
But this was good. Yeah. I like this.
Almost definitely. Make sure you send in your questions to our DMs on IG or on Twitter too at Hopefull Podcast. Anywhere, any social, any platform. Or if you want to write a nice little long letter, go ahead and send it to thehopefulromantics@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe. Stay hopeful and just be blessed and keep engaging, rocking with us. Like, we just feel like this genre is starting to take off a little bit. And
we're so thankful. We really are. Like, this has become so much more than I thought it was going to be in 8 months? I think, yes, August 1st, we have been podcasters for 8 months. And it's been amazing.
Camera quality done got a little better.
Okay.
You feel me? The sound's still the same. But we're going to get microphones, maybe.
We are. No, it's better to look legit, even if there's microphones for props.
But they don't got to know all the secrets. Listen, y'all, stay hopeful. We're going to see y'all next time.